Time to Waste podcast studio, and I am Marcus Murray, your host and guide. I'm excited about today because we're going to be talking about your purpose and finding your purpose so that as we reach this beautiful point in our lives where there are more years behind us than ahead of us, we begin to live with intentionality. The reason this is so important today, and I believe you're going to get a lot out of it, is because most times people are living and they're living outside of their purpose. It is the biggest travesty known to mankind to waste time on earth without ever realizing and identifying our purpose. As a result, it is commonly said that there is more talent and more expertise in the graveyards of America than there are on the streets and in corporations. And why is that? Because so many people, such as yourself and myself, that have been given gifts and talents and abilities have failed to execute on them. So, what we're going to talk about today is really finding your purpose. And what does that look like? Because as we go through this journey of transformation, remember, we're on week number 5. Hard to believe that we've made it this far, but yes, we have done it. And there are only, 47 more weeks to go. And we will arrive at an amazing place and we'll be excited and we'll look back and say, man, I'm so thankful for the journey. What's interesting here is your purpose actually gives you the why, the purpose. Why are you here? At this point in life, where we've all had an opportunity to experience varying degrees of success and or failure, the question becomes, what do we do now? What are we supposed to do with the experience that we've gone through? I would share with you, as I share with people often when I'm speaking with them, trying to help them identify what is their purpose. I would start first with the problem. What is a problem that you have experienced, that you have gone through, a problem that bothers you, a problem that makes you impassioned, a problem that really means a lot to you, and it was something that you had to overcome? Many times our purpose is hidden inside of a problem that we faced ourselves. And when we start looking at the problem, I kind of wrote it down just so that I wouldn't miss this point. One of the things you want to do is when you look at the problem, because we can all look back, I'm sure there are things, there are challenges, obstacles, trials, setbacks that we've all had that stemmed from a problem. Was there a shortfall? Was there a kink in the armor? Was there some area where we were blindsided by a circumstance that created a problem? Take time in your journal to list some of the major problems that you have had to face and overcome in your life over all of these previous years and start to dissect them. You want to actually look at the problem and you want to figure out what is it about the problem that causes you either frustration or pain when you think back to it. Because if the problem created a significant amount of pain, your purpose is probably somewhere in that between the problem and the pain. That is a real critical ingredient because pain is a powerful motivator. It's actually the raw material for action. When we are experiencing pain, it has a way of encouraging us to do something. When the pain is bad enough, like the story that I told in episode 2 about the 2 guys that are sitting on the porch, and there's a dog laying on the porch between the 2 of them, and the dog is moaning, and the one man looks at the other and says, "Hey, what's wrong with your dog? Why is he moaning like that?" And he says, "Don't worry about him. He's laying on a nail." And his buddy says, "Well, why doesn't he just get up and move?" And he says, "It doesn't hurt him bad enough." Pain is often an indicator that somewhere in this area is your purpose. If this pain point created enough discomfort to create passion or a cause of action, which we'll call passion, that may be the area of your purpose. And the reason that it's important to identify it is because as we are recognizing that there is no time to waste, we've got to determine what is it that fuels us? What is it that gives us energy? What is it that we're passionate about and we're willing to pay a price to achieve. Because in all of this transformation, there is a price that must be paid. So, the first thing that we'll do, we identify the problem that caused us a great deal of pain. We identify the component parts of the pain. What was it that was so painful? What was it that made it so challenging? And then how did I overcome it? And then, if you're passionate about that, there may be an opportunity, a purpose in there, an opportunity for you to help someone else. How do you teach others how to deal with that same type of pain? If that is what you're passionate about, we could be on track to finding your purpose. The next clue, the next one of the P's, and these are all alliterations just to make it easier, is perseverance, which is the repeated discussion of a particular topic or item. What is it that you perseverate on? Something you just can't seem to get it off of your mind. The problem that caused you so much pain that you're so passionate about, that you're still talking about, that may be an indicator that this is actually getting closer to your purpose. What is it that you would constantly have on your mind? It challenges you, the issue. What is it that it's a topic that even when the conversation moves on, you're not done talking about this? Is it something that you see that's wrong in society, or something that's wrong in our community, or something that's wrong with human engagement? What is it that causes you pain and creates the passion that would let you know this more likely than not is your purpose? And finally, uh, if it's something that is on your mind that you are perseverating on, that you're constantly thinking about, maybe that means it's time for you to do what we talked about in episode 29, which is to build a team. Pull a team of people together so that we start addressing the issues that we recognize in common. And maybe as we create this commonality in this team or this group, this think tank, then we're able to really get our arms around our purpose. Most importantly, we have to know that we are not here by accident. Nothing that we've gone through was an accident. No hardship, no trial, no tribulation, no setback, no turmoil, whatever it wasn't just for you. It was actually an experience that you were allowed to go through for the benefit of someone else. If it was just about us, probably wouldn't make much sense. But knowing that the things that we face in life are actually preparing us to execute and realize our purpose, our destiny, and our calling. Once you identify the purpose, what is it that you were put on the planet to do? This is really the goal. How do we transform if we don't really know why we're here? You know what's interesting? Mark Twain said it first, and it's often repeated. The greatest day of a man's life is the day that he's born. And the second greatest day is the day that he realizes why he was born. So we were all put here for a reason, for a purpose, and we have to realize what that is. Now, one of the realities as we start aging, it's common. I'm sure you've been there. I've been there where you're wondering, can I do it? Is there still room for me? Is there really an opportunity for me? Well, unequivocally, the answer is yes. What you have been blessed with, the gifting that's been placed in you, the communication style that's been given to you is very unique to you. And your voice needs to be heard. Maybe it needs to be in the form of a book. Maybe it needs to be in the form of a workbook. Maybe it needs to be in the form of poems. Maybe it needs to be in affirmations or declarations. Whatever that looks like, your voice needs to be heard. You know, there's some amazing people. There is an artist that I follow, happens to be someone I know very well. It's my mom, Lillian Murray. And what's amazing is you can catch her over on Facebook and she's doing art. And it's the most interesting thing when you watch her. She takes a board, a whiteboard, I guess you call it a canvas, that's absolutely blank. And she sprinkles a couple of splatters of paint. And while she's talking, you see this picture begin to emerge. What's interesting is it's a demonstration of the power of creativity. So, one of the purposes that she feels that she's recognized in her life is the need to teach others how to expose and reveal their greatness. I believe each of us has something inside of us that is yet waiting to be revealed to the world. And we can't think, hey, I'm 45, I'm 55, I'm 65, I'm 70, I'm 75. Maybe it's too late. No, it's not too late. It's not too late to get started. What's interesting about God, He has a way of redeeming the time. There's technology now that makes everything simpler. And what you're able to do is just get started, and the help will show up. There's a concept where we've all heard it: build it and they will come. That's how your purpose is. Once you identify it, and once you dissect it, and once you understand the problem, the pain issue that you have figured out a way to overcome, everyone that you need to assist you will actually begin to show up. I want to give you a couple of examples of a few people that, after a lifetime of failure, they were able to achieve success. And I guess the best example would be Colonel Sanders. And we've all seen Kentucky Fried Chicken. We hate to admit it. I'm sure many of us on a long road trip going from one part of the United States to another, even though we're vegan, dairy free, gluten free, and all the other frees, how do you avoid pulling over at one of those rest stops and pulling into Kentucky Fried Chicken? Like it or not, it is an American staple. And unfortunately, many of us have no choice but to pull in there every now and then. But what's interesting is that Colonel Sanders founded Kentucky Fried Chicken at the age of 65, not 25, not 35, not 45, not 55, but 65. The majority of people have been conditioned to believe that at age 65, it's time to wrap it up. I would challenge you with a thought. At the age of 65, it's now ripe. It is time to get into the game. It is not time to retreat, it's time to advance. The information that you have been able to gain, learn, understand, and actually assimilate into your modus operandi or your method of operation has been fine tuned over the last 65 years. You are the person that is perfectly equipped to take an idea to the next level. And the interesting thing about the beautiful years of 60 plus, those are the years that you're more resolute, you're more determined, you're clear, you're focused, you're not easily misled. This is where you are, and you're able to get that thing done. But we have to identify what is the thing that's been placed in our lives to get done. Another person would be Laura Wilder. She's the publisher of, or she published a writing called Little House. And she did that at the age of 65. Great books, bestsellers, amazing. And no, I'll mention one that is very popular that a lot of people don't think about. Vera Wang. Vera Wang became one of the world's most well known and renowned designers. She actually became a designer at the age of 40. Many people would say that the best designers are in their 20s. Vera Wang became a designer at the age of 40. She became world renowned at the age of 50. So you have to remember, Although there are more years behind you than ahead of you, your best years are ahead. And what is amazing about it is understanding the power of resolution, the power of focus, the power of consistency, recognizing the ability that we have to lean in. Once we make a decision, we may take a moment to make the decision, but once we've made it, we're not going to deviate. This is what we've decided to do. That is a gift. It takes years, years to fine tune and refine, to really hardwire that gift into who you are. Now, what about the challenges that we faced? What about the setbacks? What about the issues that we faced? Now, here's the key. When you know what your issue is, once you've pinpointed it, you can address it. You can actually identify it because ultimately, the goal here is that we recognize our purpose. It is nothing more important than living on purpose. So, if we think about it this way, there are two different directions. There's the purpose that's been placed in our lives, and there are these things that take us away from our purpose. So, each day that we wake up, we get an opportunity to continue moving toward our purpose or to be led by someone else away from our purpose. Once you know what your purpose is and you know it's there, a person can't lead you here because that direction is not the direction of your purpose. Once we understand our purpose, then we understand more of what Robert Kiyosaki talked about in the cash flow quadrant, how we can spend all of our years on the wrong side of the quadrant, working for others or slaving over our own businesses, never really transitioning over to a point where we're in the right side of the quadrant where we have people working for us and money working for us. Some of us will never get to that point. And why? Because we haven't identified our purpose. Once we understand our purpose, then everything else begins to align. And the things that don't make sense for us are dismissed, and the things that lead us to our purpose begin to illuminate. They're more highlit. It makes sense. It's a clear path. Very similar to Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz, to use an old school example. What was interesting is when Dorothy was just kind of randomly going the wrong way, it was just a whole situation filled with turmoil and despair. But once Dorothy realized her purpose and began to walk down the purpose, the path that had been pre assigned for her, once she began to walk in that direction, it was as though the pathway illuminated, it lit up. And that's just what I love about scripture. He is a light unto our path. That is the truth, the word, the inspiration that comes from a relationship, a vertical relationship with God, knowing that there is a creator greater than all of us that actually designed a purpose for us. And we can actually fulfill our purpose if we know what it is. There is a quote from the book of life that says, ask and it shall be given. Knock and the door shall be open. Seek and you will find. You, my friend, have a purpose, and the purpose is greater than the pain that we've gone through in the past. The pain and that whole pain cycle, that whole process actually prepared us to execute our purpose. In the next episode, it is going to be extremely powerful, where I'm going to actually identify a few books that I believe will really, really transform your life. One, I'm going to focus on one by um, why did I Malcolm Gladwell. I just went totally blank in that moment. That's another thing about reaching the beautiful years in life. Sometimes you have these conference calls that happen in here, and it's when all of a sudden there's a convergence of like 9 thoughts at one time. Well, the beautiful thing is once you have more years behind you than you have ahead of you, don't worry. It's like luggage on a conveyor belt at the airport. If you hang on, the thought will come right back around. So don't fret and don't worry, whatever you do. But we'll be talking about Malcolm Gladwell. and it's going to be so good. And I can't wait. So you do not want to leave. You want to stay tuned and tune in to the next episode of the No Time to Waste podcast, where we are going to be going through a concept. Just maybe you're greater than you thought. With that being said, I want to take a moment to thank our sponsor, Care Michigan, which is a medical case management and care coordination company located in the state of Michigan, in the city of Troy. And their web address is www.caremichigan.com. So if you or anyone you know has been severely injured in a motor vehicle accident, would you reach out to Care Michigan and let them know that you heard about them on the No Time to Waste podcast? Thanks so much, and I'll see you on the next episode.